And that was it. And that was how I was able to pilot Yanlo through to 3 rounds of victory.
Howdy friends, Craig here. This is a solo episode from Ray Flynn, where recently he won a 3-rounder here in Charlotte, and he takes us step by step through what he took into each round, who he faced, and how he ended up taking first. Enjoy.
There are few things better than stepping away from the screens, unplugging and sitting around a table to do battle with your friends. Every week, Third Floor Wars brings you the latest strategies, tactics, and reviews on board games, card games, and miniature games like Malifaux. If you want useful information on the games you already play, or new insights on great games other people are playing, you are in the right place. Craig and Ray welcome you to the Third Floor and the Tabletop Talk broadcast.
What is going on, everybody? Ray Flynn here from the Third Floor, and today we're going to discuss Yanlo. I recently piloted him in a tournament, going 3 rounds undefeated, and was able to take the first place victory there. So I just want to go through and talk about each of the rounds I played, the opponents I played against, or at least the factions that I played against, and what determined some of my decisions and why I took what I took. So we're going to go right into round 1 with standard deployment turf war, playing against Bayou. So I initially had a plan of coming into this tournament and running 3 masters. I wanted to run Yanlo turn 1 because it was standard turf war. We were running the 5th round of the Nova Open, which was corner plan explosives, which screamed Molly to me. And then round 3 was flank corrupted idols, which I felt Karai was the correct pick into. What ended up happening was due to my opponents, some of those plans changed. But for round 1, I stuck with the initial plan of Yanlo going into this. It was against Bayou, and I would find out against Ma Tuckett. And because I'd never really played against Ma, I wanted to play a little bit more safe than I might have normally gone. So I stuck with my normal plan of Toshiro, hired a mindless zombie to summon off of turn 1 and get me that Ashigaru. I also summoned an Ashigaru with hired an Ashigaru with a Grave Spirit's Touch, I believe. A Gokudo, Chiaki, Izamu. I think that's it. I might be missing something here or there. And then, of course, we got the Soul Porter. My Montucket opponent brought Big Brain Bryn, of course, Trixie Bell. A couple of Rooster Riders, because they're absolutely broken right now. And he had a Bushwhacker, I want to say, maybe. So he deployed on basically kind of across the board. He hid Bryn behind a building in the far back, so Bryn wasn't going to get into the picture. Trixie was kind of nearby. Maud, Little Lass went to center. Rooster Rider, Bushwhacker out to one flank. Rooster Rider out to the other flank. So immediately when I deployed my forces, I decided I was going to send Izamu after one, and I was going to use my Gokudo to go after the other one. And so what ended up happening here was, I think I took Anna Lovelace. That's kind of important for this. What ended up happening here is I got kind of lucky early on, and I was able to get Izamu in early on turn 2 into his Rooster Rider, and I think I Red Jokered the damage flip and killed it in one hit. And that wasn't something that was too expected from either of us, but definitely helped me because it ended up being his Vendetta target. So that pretty much denied him those 2 points. My Gokudo that I used with Toshiro. So let me discuss this real quick. What I use Toshiro for is bringing a mindless zombie. Toshiro activates, pops the mindless zombie into an Ashigaru, heals it, gives it a couple of points of focus, pushes it, whatever, moves up to position. I don't really care what else he does. Because what Anna's going to do is Anna's going to come in and she's going to blow him up with a remote detonation. When he dies, the reliquary upgrade goes to the Gokudo. Then the Gokudo is going to get targeted with Yanlo to bring Toshiro back. And then I put the Gokudo on a flank. And so that's what I did here. And that Gokudo dove into the other Rooster Rider just to tie it up, basically. because range 14 gun with focus and fast and 2, 4, 5 damage track, I think is just like, it's not something I wanted to deal with. So I wanted to get it into melee as quickly as possible. So Gokudo goes in. Izamu had his soul split out, goes the other side. Turn 2, Red Joker, that damage flip. I think early turn 3, my Gokudo took out the other Rooster Rider, and those threats were kind of eliminated. Ma came in, started putting some markers down. By this point in turn 3, Yanlo was starting to get himself powered up. And I had controlled the turf war markers because of being able to kill a couple of his models early, and he hadn't really been able to kill mine. So I took away a lot of his killing power, because once the Rooster Rider was gone, there was nothing really to contend Izamu on the left flank other than his Bushwhacker and Little Lass. And so the Bushwhacker just went down to Izamu pretty hard. I kept Chiaki kind of nearby because I was doing harness, if I remember correctly. But then Ma came up center to start threatening the turf war marker there, and the turf war markers I'd left completely unprotected in my backfield. Because I'd pushed forward into his 2 quarters. So that's where Chiaki came in to save the day with a hole through the world and flung Ma right back into the center of the table to protect one of my markers. And then I brought Yanlo to bear. And Yanlo, once he gets to turn 3, is just a monster. Is able to put out a tremendous amount of damage. So I had Ash ascending up. I had Spirit ascending up with Izamu's Reliquary, so he wasn't going down anytime soon. And just start throwing out the powerhouse upgrades, the blood upgrade to be able to get his extra darkest magic attack, the bone upgrade, which allows me to get the extra undead attack. By this point, Toshiro had been killed a second time and rezzed a second time by his enemies. And he had to start bringing Big Brain and Bryn around to just try to slow me down a little bit. And then from that point on, it became a denial game. I really didn't try to score any more points. All I was trying to do was deny the rest. So I was able to get 3 points, I think, on Turf War. And then I got 1 point on one of my schemes and 2 points on the other of my scheme and kind of shut him down 6-1. He was able, or it might have been 6-2. He was able to score 1 or 2 points, but there was just nothing he could do because I completely controlled the board. And a large part of that came from the fact that he just couldn't remove any of my models. And then anytime he got close, one of my Ashigaru would be nearby. I'd pitch a card and the Ashigaru would take the hit. That just shut him down completely. So that was round 1 for me. Went extremely well. Matake could have been absolutely disastrous for me, but fortunately, due to the overall tankiness of the crew, some of the Instill youths, being able to target my own models with Vile Reclamation off of the Ashigaru just because I didn't care about the injured and I wanted the healing. And then, of course, Foul Mouth Motivation from Toshiro. All of that healing kind of came together to keep all of my guys up while I slowly whittled his down, or in the case of a Red Jokered Rooster Rider, not so slowly. And that was the recap for my round 1. Go ahead and take a quick break. You can hear the dulcet tones of Craig, and we'll get right back at you with the recap of round 2.
Howdy friends, Craig here. With 3rd edition Malifaux released, it's time for you to get a new mat with new deployment zones. We've tried every mat in the business, and nobody has better quality and selection than Mats by Mars. They're waterproof and they roll and unroll easily, and they're even wet erase Marco compatible. They offer over 35 designs and let you add M3EO overlays for making deployment and positioning a breeze. Check them out at matsbymars.com. They are offering a sweet discount for our listeners. After you found the perfect mat, use the promo code 3rd floor to get 10% off your entire order. If you really want to support us, in the notes of your order, request that our logo be put in the corner of your mat. It's the only way to make the best mat in the business even cooler. Again, that's Mat by Mars. Use the promo code 3rd floor to get a 10% discount. Details are in the show notes.
So round 2 was initially supposed to be a Molly pool, but my opponent declared Neverborn. And I happen to be familiar with this opponent. He's a player from my personal meta. We have 3-4 metas that are very active. And I've played pretty much everyone in our Raleigh meta, and this was one of these opponents, Danny Phillips. And he's a great Neverborn player, and I was very concerned about him bringing Zoraida because we were looking at Corner of Plant Explosives. We had searched the Ruins in there. Breakthrough was in there. Power Ritual, Outflank, Claim Jump. I mean, it was scheme, which is why Molly was my first pick. But I don't actually like Molly into Zoraida. there's just not really a whole lot of defense other than the Night Terrors bringing concealment. But they go down pretty quick if you get in melee, and Bad Juju's there. So if Bad Juju comes in, it sounded bad to me. So I went with the tech pick of going, all right, Izamu's unyielding. Yan Lo is really hard to kill. His crew's really hard to kill. When we declared Masters, he declared Dreamer, which I was not expecting at all, was not prepared for at all. So my goal at that point became, all right, well, seeing as how I'm not facing Zoraida, I can change some of my tactics away from being so Ashigaru heavy. And I now need to worry about being able to scheme a little bit better. So that to me said Archie. I thought about bringing Manos, but because I know how hard the stitched together can hit in Dreamer, because I play Dreamer, I did still want to have an Ashigaru present, and then I still wanted my Gokudo warping board presence because I was going to go for Power Ritual, and he basically gets me that first point of Power Ritual for free. So my list ended up being the Whisper on Yan Lo because I felt that card advantage was going to be very important against the Dreamer crew who can purge cards out of their deck very quickly. I brought Archie, Izamu, because I wanted the extra hitters. Chiaki came along for the ride, not for any particular reason other than I wanted to put Izamu's upgrade on Archie to give him a bit more tankiness. Toshiro, of course, with the Mindless Zombie for that standard trick. Didn't bring Anna Lovelace this time because I wasn't going to go heavy into the Ashigaru pool. I just wanted to have one out there in case Lord Chompy Bits or, something came a little close. And then a Gokudo. He ended up bringing a fairly control-oriented Dreamer list and not a kill-oriented Dreamer list. So he had Hinamatsu, which was his major kill model. And then, of course, Lord Chompy Bits. But he brought the Widow Weaver and the Bandersnatch. And I'd never really been exposed to either of those because I don't play them in Dreamer at all. And I hadn't seen them on the table. So he ended up using the web markers to really, really good effect. And we had kind of a slog in the middle. He ended up using Lord Chompy Bits as a scheme runner because he ran Breakthrough, which I was completely unprepared for. We both ran Search the Ruins, and I ran Power Ritual. So Plan Explosives, I definitely had a leg up on him because I was able to get Izamu, Archie, and Toshiro pretty far up the board very quickly. The Gokudo, of course, was able to get up very quickly for the Power Ritual. And we just ended up kind of slightly off center, duking it out pretty heavily. He brought Tuco to try to threaten me turn one, but he didn't quite realize how fast my crew could be. So I was able to eliminate Tuco turn one. But his Hinamatsu came in and just started tearing me apart. And in order to try to mitigate Hinamatsu, because Hinamatsu's major threat is that she has the positives built in. I mean, the armor too, first of all. But she has positives built in. And then she onslaughts with Flurry. So she can potentially get 6 attacks in a round, and being a henchman, you can absolutely stone for this if you need it. So I ended up having to bring Yan Lo up a lot earlier than I intended because I needed his Hazardous Aura from Ash Ascendancy to try to lock her in and keep her from generating so much AP advantage through her attacks. And that actually ended up working very well in my favor. I think I was able to bring Hinamatsu down to like 2 hit points before the end of the game. But then Dreamer and Lord Chompy Bits started going on a scheming run rather than where I thought they were going to go. Stitched Together were getting summoned in, and I constantly had to deal with those, but I had to kind of lock those guys down. His Lucid Dreams was working well for him, but not quite as well as he may have hoped. And he had to throw out quite a number of moderates as opposed to the ideal weeks with the occasional severe for his Gamble Your Life. But I was able to take out pretty much his Stitch Together. Any of his Stitch that popped up, I was able to take out except for the last one. And he just ran out of AP is kind of the problem he had because Hinamatsu couldn't go in. Bandersnatch couldn't go in. I'd already taken Tuco off the table. His Daydreams were insignificant. So for the massive amount of markers he needed to drop for both for Breakthrough, Power Ritual, and Search the Ruins, he ended up having to send Chompy out. And so I had to repurpose myself, and Yan Lo ended up having to leave so he could go contest. Chompy was way too fast. He used web markers to get Widow Weaver down at 1 health to jump her out and suddenly send her off to go scheme. So I was kind of like really a little bit on my back foot there. But I was able to use Yan Lo to pick up a bomb and deny one of his points while still getting, I think I got all 4 of my points on the strat. And then I was able to get 2 points on one scheme and then 1 point on the other scheme, I think, for a 6 or 7 point game for me. And it was a marginal win. He only missed out by like 2 points, I want to say, because he got his point for breakthrough. He got a point for search and got 2 points for bombs. So I think it ended up being something like 5-4 or 6-4, somewhere in that neighborhood. But it was a really, really close game, really tight game. And I was very thankful that I decided to go ahead and bring Archie into the fray, because his ability to leap not only scored me a 2 planned explosives because he got the bomb off of Tuco, but it allowed him to get out, and putting the armor on him from Izamu kept him alive, because when he got when the Stitch Together came in and the Bandersnatch came in, they did a lot more damage than was expected. And he was down to, I think, 1 hit point. And I think 1 lucky flip kept him alive. And then I was able to heal him back up to practically full between his flurry, biting off a piece from throwing a corpse marker, and then instill youth from Yan Lo. So that was a really close call, but he ended up being my MVP piece because of all that. All right, and that was round 2. We'll be right back after a short break, and I'll go into the last bit and the deep dive of round 3, which was some Resurrectionist on Resurrectionist action.
Howdy folks, Craig here. Now if you love gadgets as much as we do, you're going to love the new Third Floor Wars Gadget Bundle from Schooner Labs. Branded with the logo of your favorite podcast, it comes with 2 measuring multi-tools, a compass stepper for those tight and important movements, along with a compact dashboard to track your turn, strat, and scheme scoring along with your soul stones and pass tokens. It is the perfect bundle for anyone who plays Malifaux or just wants to look cool while doing it. The link is in the show notes. Check them out and help support your favorite gaming podcast. All right, round 3 ended up being versus Damien Guy, who I've only played once before, I believe, and that was in a tournament when he was still playing Arcanist back in M2. And he's doing the Reser thing in M3. He lives out in Greenville, I believe. And when he came to the table, I was pretty certain he was going to pick Karai, because that's what I was going to pick. And I just was kind of going, I know he's a high caliber player. I know he's got a good feel for the game. And so he's going to see this pool and he's going to go, okay, this is going to be a Karai pool. You want those summons to help eat up some of that damage from the corrupted idols, and also to put a lot of pressure on your opponent with bringing in the Akirio. And I didn't like the odds of a Karai on Karai match. I don't feel that my Karai game is strong enough to go into a mirror match like that. So again, rather than going with the pick I originally did, I decided I was going to bring Yan Lo. So this Yan Lo version, though, I decided I wanted to be a denial version. So I didn't really bring things to do damage so much as I did to be annoying. I did bring Archie again because of his leap, and I brought Manos, which has been dubbed the Wonder Twins in the Resurrectionist chat that I'm a part of. And the reason for that is because I knew that I was going to be dealing with a lot of incidental damage, because we have the vengeance thing going. And I didn't really want to be attacking too heavily, but I wanted to threaten severely. And I wanted to be able to be doing at least min 2, which both Manos and Archie can through different means. And I wanted the regeneration that I got on Manos, and then the regeneration that Archie would get from Manos' upgrade, plus the Eternal, of course. I took an Ashigaru with Grave Spirit's Touch. No Toshiro this time. I didn't have the points for him. He was too slow, didn't bring enough to the table, didn't bring enough damage. But the Ashigaru is a 2-inch reach that can throw out injured, can heal itself, has regen now, has Terrifying Duel because of the Grave Spirit's Touch. And it's just all around just a really bad model to have to waste AP on. And I thought that it would be a great model to chuck some of Akirio's irreducible damage on, because hard to kill is still a thing. So even if I get hit with 2 or 3 swings from Akirio, he's going to survive more likely than not, unless they spike a severe or something. So brought a Kokudo like normal. And the other tech pick for this was Sloth, because of his interaction with Archie being able to give heal 3 without slowing him. But also because I had no problems using the Ashigaru to take hits and then healing the Ashigaru and giving it slow, because its goal was
to get into a singular location and kind of sit there. Extended reach was also a big thing because aside from, I think Drowned have a ranged attack and Karai has a really good ranged attack. The rest of her crew don't have solid ranged attacks. They have utility ranged attacks. They want to get into your face and start beating you down and then rely on you having to waste AP on Incorporeal with Vengeance up to do the rest of the incidental damage needed to take you out. So by bringing Manos and an Ashigaru, I had two sources of extended reach to prevent the charges. And that meant that things like using Lost Love's burnout trigger on his heal to be able to give like a Curio fast, for instance, was just going to mean that a Curio has to walk in and swing twice rather than walk in and swing 3 times, which just meant I was going to survive that much more. Chiaki came in again. I wanted to be able to get Manos's upgrade onto Archie, and then I was going to send her off to start trying to score me Harness the Ley Line, which was one of the schemes in the pool. The other schemes were Assassinate, Deliver a Message, Dig Their Graves, and Vendetta. And I opted on Deliver a Message because I knew I wasn't going to go after killing anything, and I knew that I could lock Karai down because there's not really a way for her to get out once you get her engaged. Because you can't use the station to walk her. I think it's a walk, not a move. I figured he was going to probably take Dig Their Graves and Vendetta. I ended up being wrong, and he took Deliver a Message as well, which kind of surprised me. But we ended up in this big scrum in the middle. He overextended Jakuna a little bit, popped the aura, went to put out some damage. I decided to just immediately focus her down so that way I could control the middle. And that's effectively what happened for the rest of the game is he was able to bring Manos down near to dead before I could bring my Ashigaru in position to stop the Akurio rush. But once I was able to activate him, he healed. And then a couple of Siphon powered strikes that I didn't, or a couple of, Siphon life strikes that I didn't need to Siphon power for. Was able to heal him a couple more points, and then Yanlo basically brought him up to full from there. And then he never really was threatened health-wise again from that point. I think that I got kind of lucky there. I think he Black Jokered a damage flip somewhere in there, and that's the reason why Manos stayed alive. And then after that, I was just able to keep him up. The Ashigaru locked in the Lost Love and Akurio for a couple of turns. He summoned Goryo and a Drowned. I used Chiaki, I believe, to push them back and make them waste AP. He had a couple of Shikome that he hired in that he sent on flanks. One of them he had to kind of bring back in, and then an idol dropped in the far corner and he had to go back out with it. So that Shikome kind of didn't really do anything. The other one had to scheme run on the flank that I had Chiaki kind of running on. And they didn't really do anything to each other other than disengage or not disengage, but like push themselves out and drop markers down and then maybe half-heartedly swing at one another for most of the game. So I feel like those two Shikome didn't really do him any favors that game. I don't think they were a good use of points. And then that gave me all of the rest of my crew was dead in that center there. And that gave me a lot of ability to just kind of sit back and control what was happening. So I was able to get my my Harness the Ley Line pretty easily the first point. And then I dove Archie into Karai turn 3, I think, to get Deliver a Message. And he was also going for Harness the Ley Line, Deliver a Message, conveniently enough. So I was able to deny one of his first Harness the Ley Line attempt. But when we got towards the end of the game, despite the fact that he had quite the AP advantage on me because of his model count, he couldn't get into position with anything that wasn't engaged by my models in a way that he would be able to functionally perform his schemes. And that, I think, ultimately is what won me the game because we had a couple of corrupted idol markers drop in the center that I was able to just kind of move just barely into his area and then just park myself there with, Manos' extended reach and 2-inch threat range and just be like, you can't get to this marker to do anything to it. And that really stymied him, and there wasn't really anything he could summon in to stop that. And because Akurio's hits kept being pawned off on the Ashigaru at the worst times, it's just he didn't have enough good things to do with his AP to be able to get through my denial. And that's where I got the leg up on the game. I think we finished something like 5-1. He had a really good ploy going to try to get the second point for deliver the message off of me. But I was able to severe hit the Lost Love with Archie on a single neg. I was able to get the double severe dream and did 6 damage and just took him straight out. And that denied any ability for him to score points from that point on, because that was like the last significant model he had access to at that stage. So that's how that round went. And it was a good round. It was a very tense fight. It was very well done. But the denial aspects of Yan Lo were able to win me the day. The Hazardous Aura, unfortunately, didn't come into play because of all the incorporeal that he had. But I was able to take quite advantage of his Blood Ascendancy upgrade, which gave him the 1-inch reach for Gunfighter. And that helped me lock down and control an idol and a couple of scheme markers at one point. And then me being able to just push his guys out. Oh, that was what I used to push his guys out, was Yan Lo's Treacherous Paths. Being able to push his summons out was just super strong, because he was effectively trading an AP and a card for a summon that I would then trade an AP to effectively deny for 2 rounds. And so the first couple of turns of summoning, I just had to either power through or kill whatever he brought in. But then the last couple of rounds of summoning, I just had to keep them from engaging me in any meaningful manner. And that's what Yan Lo was fantastic at doing. Because with all the healing he had and all the repositioning and the no charging and all that jazz, I didn't have to worry about Akirio. I could let Akirio just wail on me with her 1 or 2, with her 2 hits or her 1 or 2 hits if I was able to get her out of range and she had to walk back in and then swing half-heartedly. He missed his burnout trigger a couple of times. So it was just one of those things where it's like I didn't have to worry about the Akirio bomb because I kept her mitigated. So pro tip, you play against Karai, mitigate Akirio, don't kill her, and you take out a lot of that power there. And that was it. And that was how I was able to pilot Yan Lo through to 3 rounds of victory. Hope the information here helps somebody out there. And we'll talk at you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. This was Ray with the Third Floor. And stay tuned for more wonderful content coming from Craig and I as USFT gets geared up and underway.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to rate and write a review on this podcast so we can find more people almost as cool as you are. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube by searching for Third Floor Wars. That's THIRD. We'll catch you next time on the Third